flavor reminds me of what we had in Riga temple, you know?
Yes, it's from Riga temple.
Is it really? Yeah. This was in the flat where I'm staying, you know? Yes, yeah, it looks very familiar. Isn't that funny? Some furniture. We had an altar on it, you know?
One of my told me it's from old times.
Huh?
One of my Mataji told me it's from the old times.
Yes, that's pretty funny. I thought maybe it's a similar one or something. I didn't even dare to think that it's actually the same one. Om Agyantamandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshurmilitandana Tasma Shri Ravenama Shri Chaitanya Manupristam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayambhupakadamayam Dadati Swavadantikam Namam Vishnupada Krishna Vista Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurani Pachayane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasata Rishitarine Panchakopa Tirubhesha Kripa Sindhiveva Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so it is my great pleasure to have the opportunity to spend some little time with you all. I have to admit, I only am here now because I had to apply for a new German passport. And this morning I went to the German embassy here. I always do this in Riga because they still have all my files there in their computer. Because I'm nowhere registered, I'm always traveling, so I'm actually not registered anywhere as living. And Riga was my last permanent residence, so that's why I'm actually here. So I came yesterday from Chisinau in Moldova, and tomorrow I will move on to Sweden for our Scandinavian Bhakti Sangam. So yes, but seeing so many eager faces here, I'm almost thinking maybe I have to come back in the future again. We were making already some plans for some spiritual culture retreat or something. Yes. So let us see. I won't promise too much at this point, but yes, I do feel very inspired hearing that there's so many, a whole new generation of nice devotees coming, and I've heard a similar thing is going on in the other Baltic countries too. So Eastern Europe is always so much more vibrant than Western Europe. It definitely is. I'm spending quite a bit of time in other Eastern European countries like Croatia and Slovenia and all these places. Poland I will go next year, and Ukraine anyway. Yes, and I mean I've been this year first time to Canada for 3 weeks, and there's not so many local devotees there. I felt like being in Bangalore or something, you know, it was just 85% Indian devotees there, which I don't mind. I travel a lot in India too. But I really sometimes forgot, oh yes, I'm in Canada actually, you know, because I felt like in Bangalore, South India somewhere. Yes, but you know, it's good to see that in places like Latvia there's still so much more eagerness there for spiritual life than in Germany. I spend now more time in Germany too, and I tell you frankly, half of the German yatra is actually Russian devotees. Köln would be nothing without the Russian community. there at the Sunday program, at least half is Russian and a quarter is Indian. And well, then a few Germans you have there, you know. Yeah, it's interesting to see, and there's quite a few Russian devotees who immigrated to Germany when they were 2 or 3 or 4 with their parents. They speak fluently German, they have German passport, but they're from Russian background, you know. And still, they join so much easier than the Germans. Yeah, it's interesting. I can't help myself thinking that many of the devotees, at least Russia, Ukraine, I don't know, Latvia, but many devotees from Russia and Ukraine, many people, they must have been Indians in their previous life. No, seriously, I'm convinced of it. Jayapataka Maharaj was once saying, Russians are like Bengalis with white skin. I think it's very true, because, I mean, there's millions of Indian people there, they have to take birth somewhere, you know? They don't go back to Godhead, of course they don't. That's the topic today, not so easy to go back to Godhead. Death, very important moment. Yes, but I'm more and more convinced that many of, let's say, Russian-speaking people have been Hindus in their previous life in India or Bangladesh, and they had already some connection. You know, there's so many pious Hindus, they might not even know about Krishna consciousness as such, but they have some appreciation for Hinduism, for Krishna. They have to take birth somewhere. So why not there in you know, Russia, Ukraine, Russian-speaking areas, and then they have an opportunity to join Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan movement there and continue, you know. Yeah, I'm pretty convinced. That idea came even stronger in my mind when I saw how even, you know, Russian people who grow up in Germany, still they join so much easier and more naturally they're attracted. You know, because otherwise I was always thinking, yes, this opulent lifestyle with too much sense gratification makes it more difficult. But they grew up in Germany. They had the same opulence and lifestyle like other German people there. And still they take so much easier to Krishna consciousness. So obviously it's connected with the previous birth, you know. And looking at how many millions of Hindus there are, well, where are they in their next life, you know? Okay, yeah, so that was a little introduction to our topic today of death, our final challenge. It's one of my favorite topics. Yes, no, it is actually a very intriguing topic, super relevant for each and every one of us. You know, it doesn't matter whether we've been around for 30 years or a few days or something. It's just so super relevant for everyone. And we are just so expert in sweeping this topic under the carpet and pretending it doesn't concern us. Right? Yes, yes, I think we have to admit that. You know, we just won't happen to me. That's kind of the illusion we keep ourselves in, you know. Even, you know, who was it? Maharaj asked Yudhisthira Maharaj, what is the most amazing thing in this world? And he answered, well, the most amazing thing is that every day we are actually surrounded by death. Everywhere somebody is dying, sometimes, you know, quite near to us, some friends, relatives, animals who are dear to us or something. So every day almost we're somehow confronted with death, or, you know, we hear the news, policeman shot in Dallas and this and that, you know, so the news are full of death. So, but still, those who remain behind, they think it's never going to happen to them. That's the most amazing thing in this material world. And because they think it will never happen to them, therefore they don't prepare. They don't even, they just completely blend out this topic. And they don't even inquire what is actually happening at that moment. And maybe we can prepare for it. Maybe we can somehow have an influence on our next destination. You know, there's just complete ignorance and denial. Completely. Yes, and then when death knocks on our door, oh, so unexpected. You know? Like in Germany in the newspapers, it's probably in Latvia the same thing. There's all the announcements made who died last week or something, you know. And then you often read, so unerwartet, dahingeschieden. You know? So unexpectedly he left. You know, what is this unexpectedly? Not at all unexpectedly. It has to be expected at any moment. You know, and just the fact that we say so unexpectedly, it just shows how much we are in denial of it, you know? Yes, that is really the most amazing thing. And yes, we make so many arrangements and plans how to live nicely, but actually we should plan how to die nicely. And interestingly, if we plan how to die nicely, then we also live nicely. You know, this is actually Krishna consciousness, really. It's the most blissful lifestyle, actually. So if we prepare how to die nicely, that's the best life. But if we simply plan how to live nicely, we actually don't live nicely and we don't die nicely. We miss out, you know? Yes. Yeah, so it's well worthwhile understanding this topic of death a little bit more deeply. And my experience is that it can be a real wake-up call, that it can actually shake us up. Death has the power to really shake us up a little bit and make us a little more serious. You know, once we understand what exactly is happening at the moment of death, and how we have only a certain amount of time in this body, and the time is ticking, and well, every moment that's gone is gone. We actually don't have time to play around. We don't, you know. Yeah, so I've been talking. I actually have a several session seminar on this topic of death. I once gave it a couple of years ago at the Bhakti Sangam in Ukraine, so it's somewhere there on the internet. And yeah, people have given me a lot of good feedback, how it actually really transformed their life a little bit, and they became more conscious and serious. And that's the thing, before becoming Krishna conscious, we actually have to become conscious first. And in many aspects we are just so damn unconscious. You know? Yes. And we are definitely not conscious of death, you know, at all really, as I said. Also in this materialistic lifestyle we hide death, you know, so nicely. We are so expert in covering it all up and hiding it. I remember many years ago I took my mother to Nepal, first to Mayapur and Vrindavan and then to Nepal. And there is this Vishnumati river where all the dead bodies are burned, you know. And we were there on the bridge over the river, and you could see all the burning guts there. you know, where the fires were going and the bodies were burned. And then I saw some blanket there covering some area, and I asked the local devotees, what's that there? What's the blanket there? And they said, oh, there's somebody behind the blanket who is still alive, and he's just waiting to leave his body, and then he moves from the area behind the blanket. He's just, you know, it's very practical. You know, you don't even need a dead body car there, I don't know how you call them. You know, not an ambulance, but these black ones with a cross there, you know, to pick up the coffin. So all that is not necessary, you know, you just move the dead body onto the burning ghat, and the relatives are all there, they're already waiting, you know. And he could smell, or that smell of the burned flesh, oh my God, the whole area really smelled like 1,000 barbecue fires or something, you know. And I actually couldn't believe it. I thought he was joking. And I actually went there and peeked behind the blanket what's going on there, you know. And indeed, he was right. There was a man lying there, you know, and the relatives were all around him chanting some mantras and praying and crying and whatever they were doing. And he was just waiting there for the moment to come, so he would leave and his body would be burned. My mother was completely impressed and shocked, and she didn't know what to say, you know. It was really making her think, you know. Yeah, so, you know, in such culture, people grow up in small age being confronted with death as a very natural way, you know, and the children were there too. But here we try to hide death from the children. Oh, that's too, you know, shocking for them. But no, actually children, they can deal even much easier with these things than we grown-ups usually can, you know. So yes, that's, you know, we are just so expert in hiding death, and therefore, when death knocks on our door, oh, so unexpected, you know. Yeah, so, but actually, once we understand more deeply what is happening at the moment of death, it is actually a very special moment. You know, very special moment. It's the opportunity to really get on the plane back to Goloka Vrindavan. Actually, very joyful and glorious moment, which we should all be awaiting in great anticipation, actually. You know, so interesting to see a devotee and non-devotee, they're facing death very differently. You know, non-devotee, for non-devotee, it's the most horrifying moment of life is death. You know, most ghastly moment. But then for devotee, if we prepare, it's actually the most amazing and wonderful and glorious moment. That's how we should meet death. Like Vitrasura in the Bhagavatam fighting with Indra. Vitrasura was Chitraketu in his previous life. He was a great devotee, and he was cursed by Parvati to take birth in a demon's body. So he became Vitrasura, but he was actually a devotee. And he was fighting with Indra, and he knew after this fight, you know, he would lose this body he had, and he was fired up, you know, fighting, even though he knew the outcome. But in a very joyful and happy spirit, he met death, you know. And then once Indra dropped his weapon, and that actually means Indra was defeated, you know. When you drop your weapon, you lost the battle. So Indra was a little perplexed, what am I going to do now? I dropped the weapon. So, and Vitrasura preached to him, hey, just, don't hesitate, pick up your weapon, fight, do your duty, Yes. So that's actually how a devotee meets death. And then it took 1 whole year, because Vitrasura's body was so big, it took 1 year to cut off the head. Indra was sawing off the head there for 1 year, while Vitrasura was in transcendental samadhi, just waiting for the moment until he would finish. So, I mean, that we could even compare with a terminal disease or something, having cancer takes 1 year to leave, But Vitrasura was not all horrified and lamenting or something. No, not at all. He was in ecstasy. Yeah, so very, very different outlook and attitude towards death, from devotee and non-devotee. So, but yeah, basically we can say, we can't avoid having to surrender to Krishna. We can't avoid. We got the 2 choices, either to do it voluntarily, to Krishna's beautiful and all-attractive form of Shyamasundara, or to surrender to Krishna's most ghastly and horrifying form of death. But surrender we can't avoid, we have to. So, intelligent person takes rather the voluntary path, the voluntary surrender, rather than being forced, and being all in fear and horrified and so on. So basically, death we can understand as like being the final exam of this life, of this school of life. And we are tested really who and what is most important to us. Which relationship is most important to us. That's what we actually tested in. Is it my relationship with Krishna? Is this really my main and foremost thing in my life? Or are there other things which are more important to me? Other relationships? And if there's other relationships that are more important to us, well, then we have to come back and finish those more important things. If we lie on our deathbed and lament, oh, I didn't see my granddaughter getting married, what a shame. Oh, well, then we might just have to come back just to see that. So that's basically what we are tested in. What is the most important thing for us? Is it my relationship with Krishna? Is that the main and foremost thing? Or are there so many other things which are more important? So it's ultimately all a question of relationship. This relationship with Krishna has to be firmly established if we want to go back to Godhead. And it's interesting to understand just the fact that we are so afraid of death. This actually shows how little our relationship with Krishna is established. Yes. Because if it was more firmly established, then we would not be fearful of death. Then that would be really the moment. Finally, Krishna has waited for so long, so many lifetimes. Why delaying? Why not just, great, Krishna, I'm coming. Please take me. But if there's no relationship, then we are so fearful. And then we're hanging on to all these temporary relationships around us, and we want to stay by hook or by crook. Yeah, so it is really all a matter of relationship. Once I was giving a Sunday feast lecture in Ukraine about this topic, and then one lady in the audience, she was sharing one situation, how in one yatra in Dnipropetrovsk, one Mataji was just about to leave her body, and the devotees asked her, "So, you want to go back to Krishna?" And she said, "No." And everybody was shocked. "What? You don't want to go back to Krishna? Why? What's wrong with you?" And then she gave this answer. She said, "Actually, I have no relationship with Krishna. I don't know anything about Krishna. No relationship." Yes. And this can indeed very easily happen. It sounds paradox, but we can very easily be in so-called Krishna consciousness, but we completely forget about Krishna. You know? We keep ourselves busy with so many ambitions and plans and things to do, and oh, I'm so busy doing so many things. But my relationship with Krishna, we can completely forget about that. We can leave Krishna completely out of the picture. This is possible. I have the suspicion it's going on a lot, actually. Yes. So, and of course, as we all know, what's the main way to establish our relationship with Krishna? Yes, chanting. Holy name retreat. Yes, the chanting, but not just walking around on the market in the marshrutka, in the bus, whatever, you know, this is not chanting. Like that, our relationship will not be established. That's the whole issue. The relationship will only be established if we really mindfully turn towards Krishna when we chant and we call out to him, "Please accept me, please allow me to serve." Only that kind of chanting will develop the relationship. And it's a very deep matter in the heart. Not so easy. Not so easy. Yeah, we had a holy name retreat in Canada too. There was a few Prabhupada disciples there also. And we were doing some exercises, you know, chanting just a couple of rounds, everybody separately at their own pace, and really mindfully turning towards Krishna. Even in a holy name retreat, sitting in some nice bhajan kutir there in the forest, away from everything, not easy. You know, to really in the heart turn towards Krishna, call out to him, it's so difficult. What to speak of just, you know, driving and doing so many things while we're chanting. That kind of chanting will not do anything to our relationship with Krishna. Alright, we get some little pious benefit there, you know, so from taking birth in India, we take birth in Russia or Ukraine or something, and we somehow meet the devotees there or something, but this is not going to get us back to Godhead, this is not going to develop bhakti in the heart, nothing. We will be just as fearful at the moment of death as we were, you know, 30, 40 years before or something, you know, if we chant like that. So it's a whole, this chanting is a whole deep, deep science, you know, not so easy, not so easy. Yeah, so, but ultimately the chanting is the main and foremost preparation, because that's when we directly connect with Krishna, when we build that relationship. It's in chanting, nothing else. Yeah, so that's the main and foremost way. But let us quickly understand a little bit what actually happens there at the moment of death. So as we all know, the soul is covered by the ghost body, earth, water, fire, air, ether, and the subtle body of mind, intelligence, false ego. So At the moment of death, the soul simply leaves behind that gross body, like old and useless clothes, it says in Bhagavad Gita, and then it moves on the subtle body. The subtle body takes the soul to the next gross body. Right? So according to the composition of the subtle body, mind, intelligence, false ego, depending on all the material attachments and desires, we get awarded a new body. And it perfectly fits our mentality. And no matter what body we get, we actually derive some satisfaction of it. Even if we are in the body of a worm, in a fresh apricot or something, Kishinev, there was this apricot season in full swing, everywhere the apricots are falling on the street. You don't have apricots here, huh? No. Yeah, no, down south, Odessa, Kishinev, is a lot of apricots and peaches there. It's really the season now. But so many have worms, So, these worms, they enjoy their life there in a nice, juicy, sweet apricot. Even the worms, the body of a worm, worm's existence. That soul really enjoys it and gets some satisfaction from it. So yeah, according to the composition of the mind, intelligence, thoughts, ego, we get the next body rewarded. So, and if we want to go back to Godhead, we do have to fully spiritualize that mind, intelligence and thoughts, ego, completely transform, dissolve all the material aspects of it, and completely spiritualize it. And then we can go back to Godhead. So not so easy. It actually requires quite a bit of work, quite a bit of preparation. Right? And Krishna says, Antakale chamamivasvam nuktva kalevam. So, if you remember me alone, Krishna says at the moment of death, then you surely reach me. Me alone, not me and your husband, wife, dog, child, grandchild, whatever. But it's me alone. Not so easy. Not so easy. You can't think, alright, let me enjoy life and then, yes, at the moment of death I will chant Hare Krishna or something. No, not so easy. In any case, actually once we understand what is really going on, we will understand it's actually not such a fearful thing. We have all done it many times already. We just forgot. But we've been through it so many times already. And we can compare it like a caterpillar transforms into a butterfly. Caterpillar leaves that empty caterpillar shell behind and flies off as butterfly. Simply a transformation there, an almost mysterious transformation. Or we can even compare it with some animals that sleep through the winter season, like the hedgehogs. Hedgehog? Yes, with the spikes, they can put up the spikes for defense there. So they all go in deep sleep in winter. They find some corner underneath some heap of wood, and it's quite mysterious how they can survive without eating, without drinking for so many months. The whole metabolism changes, the breathing, heartbeat goes really low, and then when it's warm, they awaken again, you know, and come back to life. So they stay in the same body. But this is basically what death is like. We simply go into an unconscious and inert state, like some deep sleep. Snakes do the same thing. You know. In Mayapur, when it's cold, they hide somewhere and sleep, and then when it gets warm, they will come out again.
And frogs can be frozen, and then they melt again.
Yeah, see, there you go. Frogs have a special body, you know, so they actually can freeze and then just come back to life. So, I mean, it's quite amazing, you know. Or even the plants also in winter season, you know it all, the trees all drop their leaves, you know, and they actually look dead. It's like all the life force disappears into the root there, it's a bit warmer, you know. And then springtime comes back to life. So this is actually what death is like. You know, the soul doesn't die. We just go into an inert stage for some time, unconscious, deep sleep, and then we all start all over again. You know? So actually not that fearful, not that horrible. You know? No, it's actually not. We just experience it as such a fearful situation because we're so attached to the body. That's the whole thing. But it is simply a mystical transformation, really. And of course, what really counts is our consciousness at that moment, you know. And I want to share one little story, which maybe some of you know already, but maybe some of you don't. The story is like a very amazing proof of the laws of karma and reincarnation from the modern days of ISKCON. And when I heard the story some 8 or 10 years ago or something, it left quite a deep impression on me and really brought our philosophy to life, that it's not something that it's only written in Bhagavad Gita or something, but it's really actually like that. It really happens like that. That's this famous story of Raghava. You know Raghava Das, the brahmachari? No? Yeah. Well, then it's a new story for you. So there was this devotee called Raghava Das in England, Prabhupada's disciple, brahmachari, book distributor. Quiet. Don't spoil it. And he left his body in a car accident. I think after a marathon, you know, often the drivers fall asleep or something, and he left his body. And Prabhupada, they informed Prabhupada, oh, Raghava left his body, everybody was shocked, lamenting. And Prabhupada, he wrote a letter back, it's alright, he will continue in his next life. You know, Prabhupada saw things completely from the transcendental platform, he was not all lamenting, it's okay. He's going to continue, no problem. So it did. You know, he actually took birth in an Indian family in London, in a Mataji's body. Indian Mataji, Ratnavali is her name, disciple of Bhakti Swami. And now you might wonder, well, how can you really say this? Well, astrologically you can prove, I'm not an astrologer, but you can prove that it is indeed the same soul, you know, continuing as Ratnavali. And also she was put under hypnosis and she remembered some parts of her life as Raghava. And whenever she meets Prabhupada disciples in London who knew Raghava, there's still many around, You know, then she has some feeling, you know, oh, I know this person, we know each other, you know, yeah, like this. So, and already as a young child, she was very attracted to, you know, Krishna consciousness, joined very young, and so on. And in dreams also different episodes came up to her, you know, so, I mean, it's pretty well established and accepted that she was Raghava in her previous life. So now, what do you think, what was Bhakti True Swami's first question when he heard about the story? What did he ask her? Any idea? What would be?
Why your Mataji's body?
Yeah, so what happened? What happened? That you're now in a Mataji's body, Indian body. What the hell happened? Who were you thinking of? Yeah, so, and Ratnavali researched this question. And some of the Prabhupada's disciples, they remembered, oh yes, because Raghava was mainly traveling on book distribution, but then whenever he came back to the temple, he would do some puja. You know, he would be on the altar. Good combination, you know, going out in Sankirtan and then just to become, again, a bit more regulated and clean and civilized, you do a bit of puja, you know. So, and then, whenever he was doing puja, there was this Indian Mataji in the pujaska, in the paraphernalia room. She was polishing the brass there and setting up the arti tray. And of course, Raghava was a strict brahmachari. It's not that he had some love affair with her or something. No, it was actually the opposite. They were always quarreling a little bit there, you know. Couldn't you pick some better flowers there for the flower tray, or arti tray's not ready? And there was always a little bit of shuffling around there, you know. Yeah, a little bit of tension. But that was enough for Raghava to do another round in this material world in an Indian Mataji's body. So this is pretty interesting. You know, we often think that only the positive attachments we have to overcome, you know, but no, the negative ones too, because they're also attachments. As we always say, attachment and aversion are just the two sides of the same coin. So if you're averse towards a person and you can't stand that person and you know, so there's also some kind of attachment there. You know, attachment to being averse. But it's not free of attachment. Then you would be cool and neutral and, you know. Yeah, so, my God, it just shows how much we actually have to clear up there and how much work we have to do, you know, to really clear away not only the positive attachments, but the negative ones too, the aversions as well. So, and I mean, the story with Raghava, one might think, well, he's a Prabhupada disciple, he's a brahmachari, he's a book distributor. Of course he would go back to Godhead. But no, he didn't. And Prabhupada said it. Prabhupada said, no problem, he will continue. Prabhupada knew. There's even the letter there, I read the letter where Prabhupada responds to it. You know? If you Google Ratnavali and Raghava, you get the whole story there. It was many years ago in Dandavats and so on. You know?
Actually, the happy end about it, that she really took seriously the Harinam Sankirtan process. She not only did we did quite some Harinam Sankirtan.
Okay. Yeah, so that's her story. And then she even went and visited that Indian Mataji, who was in the Pujari room there. That must have been quite an unusual experience when you meet the person, you know, who you had some little tension in your previous life, and because of whom kind of you're here again, you know. Must be quite an amazing experience. She didn't share that much about that experience, but and when I saw 3 photos, one of Raghava, one of Ratnavali, and one of this Indian Mataji, you know, who served in the Pujari room, and I just cracked up laughing when I saw these 3 photos. Because it was so funny to see how Ratnavali's face now is a mixture of Raghava's and that Indian Mataji. I couldn't believe it. You know, you could see, yes, the eyes and the nose are Raghava's, you know, and then the bottom part, the mouth, the lips, the chin, that's from the Indian Mataji. You know, completely. Because naturally we all attach to our own body, you know, we take darshan so many times there in the mirror, you know, so we are very attached to our own face, so therefore there's something of that in it, but then there was also a good portion of that Indian Mataji in there, you know. So whatever faces we have now, well, it's not a coincidence, you know, it is a whole mixture there of our attachment from our previous life, you know. Probably something from previous body and something from somebody else's body, you know, and that forms our present outlook there, you know. Yeah, so not so easy to go back to Godhead. After that story, it became very clear to me, not so easy, not so easy. Yeah. And then another amazing thing is that Ratnavali, she has 2 birthmarks. You know, babies have birthmarks sometimes. I used to work in medical profession before I joined, and I used to sometimes work with newborn babies. And I remember I was once asking a colleague and asking him, why do babies have these birthmarks? I was wondering, you know, I thought there must be some reason why they come, you know, to this world with some birthmarks. And this doctor, of course, he had no clue. He said, nobody knows babies have these things. Yes, but it was already then fascinating for me, and I thought this can't be a coincidence, there must be a good reason for this. So, and Ratnavali has a birthmark on the forehead and across the belly. So what's that from? From the accident, exactly. Yes, yes, and people remember it. Yes, Raghava had an injury on the head, exactly on that place, and all over the belly, some trauma, you know. So it's interesting to understand, especially when you live in a car accident, this is some traumatic impact. Oh, my head, oh, my belly. And the mind takes that into the next body, and it manifests in the next body as birthmark. Isn't that amazing? I mean, that's a medical proof, you know, how the soul actually moves on to the next body on the subtle body of mind, intelligence, false ego. These impressions are stored in the mind like some little computer chip, and they form the next body. That's what birthmarks are. I mean, and of course the doctors, they don't know. They say, oh, babies have these things. Nobody knows. You know, but because he doesn't know what's happening at the moment of death. And you often see it, you know. You look a bit more and you see sometimes people have these birthmarks on especially on the head, because often people die like that with some being shot in the head or something, you know, and it looks like an injury, you know. So I once met a young boy in India, and he had a huge birthmark around his neck. My God, huge, so strong. He looked like he was strangled in his last life, you know. And then I was telling that to somebody. Of course I didn't say anything to the boy or the parents, but I just thought, oh my God, you know, because it's so big and strong around the whole neck, you know. Then I was mentioning it to somebody else, and then they said there was some horrible story happening where some devotee got strangled. You know, some devotee kid. And yeah, I mean, when you get strangled, that would impact your mind a bit, you know. For sure, you're gonna take that next to you, into your next body, you know. Yeah, so wow, you know.
Not necessarily, but then we have to have consciousness like Vitrasura had.
Yeah, I mean, one has to be super Krishna conscious to really, you know, have prepared and have established one's relationship with Krishna very firmly, that even in such a testing moment of being strangled or whatever, you actually just fully focus on Krishna. I mean, that's not so easy, you know, not so easy. Yeah, in any case, but I mean, one thing I want to add, that it's not advisable to look back into one's previous life. Not advisable, because it can be very confusing. There's a reason why Krishna gives us this forgetfulness. And the reason is because it's hard enough to deal with one set of upadhis and false designations. What to speak of several sets, you know? And this can easily happen, that we think, oh yeah, okay, now I'm Ratnavali, but no, actually I'm Raghava, I'm a brahmachari. Can easily happen, and then one gets all mixed up and one gets into the brahmachari mood and gets divorced and all that, you know. And then very easily the same thing can happen another time. That again, because we're not properly situated, we're not properly going through the whole purifying journey there, then again something happens and we are attached to somebody there in some negative or positive way, and again we don't make it. So better not to even worry about we were in the past life. No need. No need. I've seen it several times where devotees try to find out, and then also it's a whole thing for the ego. Oh, look at me, I was a Prabhupada disciple in my previous life, and the whole world of ISKCON has to know my story, and you know, yeah. Or I was a demigod in my last life, or whatever maybe, you know, and then people get all puffed up about what they were in their previous life, and you know, and then they all get mixed up, and oh, maybe I'm a demigod now too, and not only my previous life. And, you know, better not. No, better not. Not advisable. Just this story with Raghava is a pretty good preaching story, because it does really make people think. You know, once they realize time is ticking, you know. It's just a question of time. I'm definitely going to have to face it sooner or later. Boy, I better prepare. I better get serious and establish my relationship with Krishna. I better get my bead back and chant very attentively. Oh, please, Krishna. Otherwise we might, end up, we can have a good time in Krishna consciousness and float around and be on every festival and keep joy, Haribol, but then at the moment of death, I have no relationship with Krishna. This can easily happen. Yeah, it can easily happen, Yes, and really, it's not just a question of being initiated and, blabbering our rounds down somehow or other, and then we think we can go back to Godhead or something. No, come on, it's not that cheap, We actually have to do a whole lot of internal work there and really delete all these mundane impressions, whether negative or positive. We have to replace them with spiritual desires and impressions and experiences and plans and so it's a whole deep internal transformation we have to undergo in order to really qualify to go back to God. To join Krishna's party there in Goloka Vrindavan, this is not such a cheap thing. It's not.
Face control.
Soul
control there.
Soul control. Yeah, well, So alright, let's ask for questions, since it is a pretty practical topic. Yes?
Maybe it's not a question, it's that I wanted to add one thing. I also was thinking about this. Why, some devotees, they just died, and many people just say, they went back to Godhead. I was thinking, where is the proof? How they know? And then I read one quote from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, I can find it, then that actually the person is going back to Godhead when on the stage of Bhava Bhakti. That is proof of that it's not so cheap, that you got to have a bhav, real love to God, to go back to Godhead. Otherwise, even Nishta is not enough, even if you are firm and stable in your Krishna consciousness is not enough. You got to have love, real love, bhava.
Did you understand the question there?
In part.
In part. Well, he said sometimes we say, the devotee leaves somehow, and yes, he went back to Godhead. But then it is also stated that one actually has to be on the level of bhava to really go back. Yeah, well, first of all, the statement, he's going back to Godhead, we could also see as, well, eventually, maybe not right now, time separating maybe still, that statement. Prabhupada was often saying, yes, so many temples we have, just time separating. So, but also there's this story, that where devotees asked Prabhupada, and he was saying 100% Krishna conscious, and then 90, 80, all right, yes, I'll cover up the 10, 20%. That aspect is also there, that by Krishna's mercy, and Prabhupada's mercy, Guru's mercy, it is simply up to them, it is up to them.
And then devotees can say, okay, the Prabhupada will cover, no problem.
Well, they can say so many things, but it might just not happen, Yeah, so in any case, we have the motto, we have to try our best and Krishna does the rest, maybe. So we can't build on that. We do have to try our best and prepare. Yes, and the chanting is the main thing. The point is, if we actually chant like that every day for 2 hours, for so many years, really deep in our heart, turning towards Krishna, calling out to Him, then something will happen in that relationship. You know? Something tangible will actually manifest in that relationship. It will develop the relationship. It's very clear if you put that endeavor in.
Then one more question arises. Then if we like the question again about these relationships, if I chant like only chant without no reading about Krishna, will it really work like this? Because when I read about Krishna, like directly about Krishna, who he is as a person, then for me it will be easier to understand and to get this relationship, because I know the character and everything, and what's on his mind, you know.
Yeah, so I mean Harinam Chintamani says that in order to really chant the holy name, the Sambandha Gyan has to be deeply established in the heart. Not only on the level of the mind and intelligence, yes, I know I'm servant of Krishna, yes, I know. But then we don't act on it, we make so many plans for enjoyment, then we don't know. So Sambandha Gyan has to be deeply established in the heart. And for that we do have to hear again and again. Again and again. And only then we can actually really mindfully turn to Krishna when we chant. So that's why we say Prabhupada's books, especially Bhagavatam, is the foundation to japa. And japa is the foundation to kirtan. Yes. Just kirtan, you know, without serious japa, without hearing Bhagavatam regularly, it's just sense gratification, it's just music. Because in kirtan also we actually have to mindfully turn towards Krishna and call out to him. In kirtan much more difficult than in japa, because in kirtan so many distracting elements are there. There's the melody and the instruments and the rhythm and the audience and, you know, so many distractions there.
It should be helping elements.
Huh?
It should be helping elements.
But they can easily distract, and also they can lead to, you know, showing off.
But funny thing that Yuga Dharma is congregational chanting, not
Yeah.
japa.
Yes. But the foundation of it is japa. And the Yuga Dharma is how we spread it. But the purity has to be there. And if kirtan is not based on the 4 regulative principles and chanting 16 rounds, there's no potency in it. That's the whole thing. Empty capsules, Satchidananda Swami calls it. You know, it looks like the real thing, but it's the semblance, the shadow. That's also Harinam Chintamani says that too. It's just reflection, not the real thing. Yes.
I have questions about the concentration. I don't remember the source, but it is said that people of Kali Yuga don't have actually the possibility to concentrate really as it should be when you are chanting. So the question is how to develop this concentration if we by default don't have this ability at that time.
Well, it is said, you know, in Kali Yuga people have short lives and bad memories, and they can't study for, you know, so many hours and lifetime, years, you know. So that's the concentration, which is not there in Kali Yuga.
And attention also
But
to someone.
yes, but nevertheless, it is, I mean, now we are at the Holy Name Retreat here. It is a question of the heart, actually. We have to involve the heart in chanting. You know, we actually have to cry out in desperation. It's not so much on the platform of the mind, of just concentrating and you know, but no, we have to involve the heart.
But how to do it practically?
Well, practice, sincerity, cutting out all the distractions, you know, not allowing ourselves to be distracted. and just try our best. No use to engage into some boxing match with the mind. You know, we have to involve the heart, that's the key. Like Prabhupada was always saying, we should chant the holy name like a child calling out for his mother in desperation. So the child calling for his mother, he doesn't have that problem of a wandering mind. He doesn't say, oh strange, every time I call for my mother, I'm thinking of so many other things, and, you know, and my mind is wandering, and I'm thinking of ice cream and so many other things. No, there's no room in the child's mind except, where's my mother, I need her right now. So, and that really makes the point, you know, that our main problem is that we don't feel desperate enough, meaning the real problem is our pride, that we are not humble enough, we are puffed up and arrogant, and we actually think we don't really need Krishna. Alright, it's alright, you know, to go to a little program, have some prasad, cool. But otherwise I get by pretty nicely without Krishna, and I've got all my plans, and I'm doing pretty well, and got it all together. That's the problem. You know, Prabhupada says, a person who is situated in material satisfaction, for him very difficult to chant. You know, so it's the material satisfaction, not the lack of concentration.
What lead us to this stage of mind of this child who is crying? What lead us in this life?
Actually,
some kind of
a good thing that leads us is suffering.
Suffering only.
Or some struggle, some discomfort. That's why I personally feel most happy in countries where the standard of life is very low and simple. Ukraine, Bangladesh.
But if people have some good karma,
well, Latvia is already on the border here, you know. Well, that's the point. If we have good karma, very easily this makes us proud. You know, Prabhupada says the 4 principles of material advancement, namely high parentage, good wealth, high education, bodily beauty, they are, so to speak, disqualifications. Because, yes, so to speak, Prabhupada says. He makes it a little milder. He says, so to speak. Because we can't say absolutely a rich person cannot become a pure devotee, or a highly educated person cannot. We don't say that, because bhakti is not dependent actually on any material condition, but some material conditions are more conducive than others. And the reason why they are, so to speak, disqualifications is because they lead to pride and arrogance. As soon as we have some little opulence, we get proud. Look at me. And then we can't change in quality. We can't cry out helplessly. So that's why Krishna arranges sometimes a bit of an earthquake for us. You know? Shakes us up, everything is destroyed and smashed. Things go the way we just didn't expect. Just to make us feel helpless. Because helplessness is a really important quality to develop in spiritual life. Without helplessness, we can't really change. And interestingly, Prabhupada himself set the example. There's this nice book, Our Srila Prabhupada, A Friend to All. Any of you know this book?
What is it?
Our Srila Prabhupada, A Friend to All. Very nice book. It's a compilation of all different memories different personalities in India had, written by Mula Prakriti Devi Dashi, or compiled by her. And there's a few amazing stories where the Pujari of Advaitacharya's house in Chandipur tells how Prabhupada used to come very regularly as a grihastha And he used to sit in the back of the temple chanting for the whole day. And tears would fall down on his cheeks. Whole day chanting. And then the day before Prabhupada left to go to America, he went there again and chanted the whole day. Just begging. When the Pujari asked him, "Oh, who are you? You've been coming here so many times, I've seen you, who are you?" And then Prabhupada says, "Yes, my name is Abhayachandravendra," and so on. And my Guru Maharaj has given me this impossible mission to go to the Western world. There's countless souls who have never even heard of Sri Radha Krishna, and they're suffering greatly. And somehow I'm given this mission, but I don't know how I will be able to fulfill this mission. And then he tells, tomorrow I'm going on a steamship to America. So the whole day Prabhupada spent there chanting. Just imagine, that's how Prabhupada prepared himself. That's how important for Prabhupada was, the chanting. If we go to India for 4 weeks, the day before, we probably would be too busy with more important things. But Prabhupada going all the way to America, not knowing what will meet him there, he spent the whole day chanting at Advaita Chai, simply helplessly begging for mercy. So Prabhupada gave us the example of how to chant. Any question about that? Yes.
I'm now confused.
Are you? Good. Confusion always means that we've managed to shake up something here.
My question is how to understand right way all the advices about developing sincere relationships with devotees. Because that means I'm thinking about the form of face, or how he's doing at the moment, and it's very big probabilities that at the moment of death I will do such things as well.
That you will think of a devotee.
And how to develop this ability in that critical moments to think only about Krishna. I see now as difficult as it actually.
Let me see if I find this nice quote so quickly. I've collected so many nice things. But in one purport, Prabhupada explains, yes, this is 11th canto, 7th chapter, verse number 6, so it's not Prabhupada. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, those great souls who have surrendered unto me are always equipped with transcendental knowledge and detachment from the material world. Sometimes, being busy in their devotional service, they may appear to forget me. However, a pure devotee who has achieved the platform of love for me will always be protected by such sincere devotion. Even if such a devotee should suddenly give up his life while neglecting to fix his mind intensely on me, such a devotee's loving feelings are so powerful that they afford him all protection. Even if there is a temporary moment of forgetfulness, such devotion will bring the devotee to my lotus feet, which are beyond the vision of ordinary materialistic persons. So again, it is a question of relationship. Right? It's very nicely explained, that if a person has developed that loving devotion to Krishna, even if there is some situation where he can't absolutely fix his mind on Krishna, still that devotion is there in the heart, and it will somehow bring him to Krishna. And also, another interesting thing is that actually remembrance of Krishna is not really in our hands. It comes from Krishna. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. You know? So we can't force our way into the spiritual world. You know, it's not that, oh, I've chanted so many years, so now I will remember. No, it is ultimately up to Krishna, whether he appears in our mind or not. And I remember I was a very new devotee in Australia, and I had to do some little surgery, and I was put in anesthesia, and I was thinking, all right, let's try. I will try and remember Krishna just at the moment when I fall unconscious. But I couldn't. Even though it was no big surgery, it was just some little thing. You know, it was no life-death situation or something, but I couldn't remember Krishna at that moment. And afterwards, when I woke up, I realized, wow, I was a little, okay, not so easy. You know? And then I know another story of one nice devotee in Ukraine. She had a stroke, and she was paralyzed on the right side, which usually means speech and memory is gone. And then it came back, you know, but in the stroke she didn't know anything. She didn't even know her name, she couldn't remember anything. Her name, where she is, what she is, nothing, everything, blank, completely blank. And afterwards she told me, she said, but one thing happened which made me very peaceful. I remembered the Maha Mantra. And I was just chanting in my mind. And I knew everything would be alright. You know? Yes. She couldn't remember anything at the time. Nothing. But the Maha Mantra she could remember. She couldn't even speak, nothing. But the Maha Mantra she remembered, and she simply chanted in her mind. You know? She told me personally afterwards. You know? I thought, wow, just see, you know. So Krishna, you know, does allow some remembrance to some people. There's another story of one Prabhupada disciple, one Mataji, Isha, Mother Isha. She also had a stroke, and she also lost all memory and everything, you know, and she had to be put in a nursing home. Naranja Swami visited her, and she left her body meanwhile, and Naranja Swami wrote a whole article about it and put it on Dandavat. And she was just singing Hare Krishna all day at the nursing home there. She couldn't even remember and recognize Naranja Swami, even though they knew each other very well. He joined the temple there in Boston when she was like the mother of the temple there. She couldn't recognize him. You know, he was saying to her, hey, Mataji, you remember I'm Naranja? She just looked at him and couldn't remember anything. But she was just singing the Maha Mantra, chanting. And he was writing very nicely. He was saying, oh, well, I guess that's all we have to have at the moment of death. You know, he was a bit disappointed that she couldn't remember him. But then he thought, oh, well, at least she's chanting Hare Krishna. So what else is needed, actually, you know? And everybody in the nursing home knew her. And, oh, yeah, the one who sings Hare Krishna, yeah.
But then if a person with such stroke dies, then that person doesn't remember anything else.
Exactly,
So,
it's a blessing. I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, it's funny, you know, what seems to be unfortunate maybe from external situation can be actually the greatest blessing, you know.
And it also doesn't mean that she will have a bow.
Well, but you can say for Krishna to act in such a way, you know, that he allows that person to remember The Mahamantra must be something there, you know. In any case, I think we have to be careful to try and measure and judge and determine and so on. Ultimately, it's up to Krishna, you know. And he may appear in our minds and hearts, or he may not. And he reciprocates. He is there. He sees what's going on in our heart. You know, and if we are dedicating ourselves and we're trying our best to serve and to please the devotees and serve Prabhupada's mission, then he might just reciprocate. You know? Or he might say, let him do another round. And I mean, ultimately, it's also no loss. We always need more advanced devotees in ISKCON, you know, who carry on from previous life. So in the ultimate issue, it's not that there's some huge loss if we have to come again, because we're allowed to keep whatever little progress we've made. But I mean, seeing how crazy the world is getting, I'm not that keen on coming back again, to be really honest. I kind of hope that I won't have to come back here again. But ultimately it's up to Krishna. But at least we have to take things very seriously. You know? That should be the conclusion, that we really take the chanting very seriously. Really turn to Krishna, call out, not just wander around and do this and that and try to pass the japa time in the most pleasing way by doing something else at the same time or something, you know. Yes, we have to take it seriously, and time is ticking. We've got only a certain amount of time left to prepare for the exam, so let's better not play around and waste it. You know, we should try and use every moment of the day in a meaningful way in Krishna consciousness, really. You know? Okay, shall we leave it at that? 25 to 9? 28 to 9? Yes.
Could you please tell again the number of that verse from the 11th canto? Is it 7th chapter, the verse 6?
Oh, really close to my voice book. Here. 11:7:6.
11:7:6.
Yes. Did that answer your question? Yes.
Maybe then I would like to summarize what I could hear. That actually everything you told about broke my illusion about something I can to manage here, or that something can depend from my will or my effort. And the only thing, and how I understood, is we can demonstrate our intention, and that's all.
Yes. Basically. I mean, also Krishna says not he is my devotee who claims to be my devotee, but he who is a devotee of my devotee, he is my real devotee. So actually the secret of success is service attitude towards the devotees, that's one track, and chanting the holy name. These two things. If we concentrate just on those two things, service attitude towards the devotees and really becoming more serious in our chanting, really endeavoring. Actually, chanting is hard work. It's hard work. And we have to agree to do this hard work. You know? And that connects us with Krishna and the service attitude towards the devotees. This is what attracts Krishna's merciful glance upon us. You know? Yes. Yes.
May I give a short comment also to
Yes.
your answer?
Sure.
Because I want to say that either this question and some others somehow connected to a point I have been searching for last 20 years. I felt something was wrong, and only in last years I found that there was an elephant in the room. It's so big that it's too long story to tell right here. But I want to say we live in a very quarrelsome society, right? Especially Latvians. Latvians are more quarrelsome than Estonians, more quarrelsome than Lithuanians. That's my personal observation for 35 years between the devotees and either countries. And there is not so much problem with individual practice of Krishna consciousness. We have all the facilities. We have deities, we have temple, we have everything. The biggest problems are in association between devotees. So in order to overcome that, we have to really study and rectify and purify our 6 kinds of holy association, as we know. If anybody doesn't know, I remind you to, it's in a songbook even it's mentioned. And especially the last one, which is the least popular, is revealing one's heart to others. We don't have very much of this tradition, I'll say frankly. I said, it took me decades to come to realize that my heart was blocked. I had blocked my heart. Why? Because not pride, which you also mentioned, enjoyment and pride. No, I had blocked my heart early in my life due to pain. And for many years I was happily chanting, unaware that there was problem here. Only the last 2 or 3 years I came to realize what's going on there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I mean
we have to consciously work around it. Sometimes it's painful to look in our hearts. Sometimes in association between devotees, some aspects of this association make us feel painful, humiliated, and like that. And we have to learn to overcome that. And then when we learn, more or less 30% of the devotees, when learn this on a proper level, associate, then there will be no problem seeing others as souls. If we can feel without guarding, and then everything will change.
Yeah, so it's a whole transformational process. Very true. All these blockages, they're all stored there in the computer chip of the mind, and if we don't work through them, we do, have to take another body that gets. But then the mind has so many mundane aspects there, and that forces us to take another birth.
What about this opening the heart? You cannot open the heart to anything. You should be friend. You should be friend.
Well, but that's a sign. That's a sign of
close. You should be close person. And also, as a conclusion, maybe it's possible to make. If it's possible, if you want to open the heart, you should have a friends in society.
It's a big topic. I want to. Yes, I've got 4 little brochures here. If anybody wants one. Institute of Spiritual Culture. There we have a nice course, Giving and Accepting Shelter. This is discussing the whole topic of friendship, opening, revealing one's mind and confidence, what it actually means. It's interesting, in the purport to this verse, the loving exchanges, revealing one's mind and confidence, Prabhupada says, it means A more experienced devotee explains, and a less experienced devotee learns from him. This is actually what this what this confidential revealing and speaking is. It's actually nothing else but giving shelter and accepting shelter. And this is very much connected with the topic of culture, because in materialistic life and its culture, nobody wants to give shelter, nobody wants to accept shelter. Whereas in spiritual culture, it's the most natural foundation of any more meaningful relationship. There's always somebody giving shelter and uplifting, and somebody accepting shelter, inquiring, offering service. This is the natural foundation to any more meaningful relationship. But if this giving and accepting shelter is not there, what we get is Haribol relationships. I like to call them Haribol relationships. Where you just, oh yeah, Haribol Prabhu, nice to see you. How are you? Haribol, 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 Haribol. You know, but it's Krishna conscious small talk, not more than that. You know? Yes. That's what we get if we don't more deeply accept shelter and reach out to youngers and give shelter. Whole big topic. So let's see, maybe in future we can discuss all these topics. I collected a lot of nice quotes on these topics. I have one quote from the Guru Purana where it says, unless one reaches out to those in an inferior position, one's life will be superficial. Wow. Not only one's life, but one's relationships will be damn superficial. Because we only think about ourselves. You know, my practice, my trip to India, my festival, my this, my that. But we're not really selflessly reaching out to others and trying to uplift them. You know, so a big thing. Okay, if anybody wants to take one home, there's a website here on the back. You can check out the recordings and course schedule in different parts of the world. Mayapur, I'm every year there. Give courses throughout the whole January. This year we introduced a course on the Vanapasta ashram. Also a big topic, nobody talks about it. What is this Vanapasta ashram? You know, we have so many courses on Brahmachari ashram, Grihastha ashram, Sannyasa ashram, but Vanapasta, not established. Nobody talks about it. So many things. Okay, well thank you very much for your eagerness to associate and spend a bit of time here together. And I hope I see you sometime again. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Veda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai, Gaura Premananda ki Jai.
You check your email written here? Do you check regularly your email written here?
Yes, all the time, 10 times a day.
This one, right?
Yes, because I don't have a phone. I refuse to have a phone.